Okay, let me try to change it. Let me pull it up in the background and see if that helps. Now?
Yep.
Yeah, now we can see, but if you want to put it in presentation mode.
Wait a minute, that's your browser. That's not it. Is that the presentation you're showing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if you wanted to show PowerPoint or you're trying to show it out of your browser. That looks good.
It's looks good. You guys can see it full screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
This is good. I think this is good. You're good. And we're
cool.
live.
So is my face showing up anywhere?
Yeah.
While I'm doing this?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Top left. Yeah.
Top left. Okay,
you're
cool.
showing everywhere. Yeah. Awesome. So what we'll do, Nisha, I'll maybe give it 2-3 minutes until everybody join, and then we'll kick it off. I'll give a quick intro and then hand it over to you, and you ride the show. And do you want people to interrupt you while you're speaking? Are you going to?
Yeah, I have some stuff in there where it's kind of interactive.
Okay. So I'll help you with the chat. I'll help you with the chat, and if there is any questions, I'll share with you. Otherwise, we can give maybe 10-15 minutes for Q&A at the end, and we normally do a group selfie toward the top of the hour. We can stay a little bit, more afterwards, maybe 5-10 minutes if everybody has more questions. Otherwise, we'll just end up noon Eastern.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good.
You want me to stop sharing, or you want me to keep sharing my screen?
I don't know. Whatever you feel comfortable, you can keep sharing or you can stop sharing. It doesn't matter. We have folks joining now, so
okay.
At least 2 more folks. Hey, Muhammad, how are you guys?
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Or you can stop sharing. It doesn't matter. We have folks joining now, so
okay.
I need to mute this one. Awesome. Hey, Yusra. Happy Sunday.
Hey, Ahmed. Thank you.
Hey, good to have you. How's everybody doing? How's your Sunday so far? It's raining here in Ottawa. I'm not sure about you guys where you're calling from, but it's raining here, and it's a little bit foggy. Seems like there is going to be some more rain coming soon.
Finally don't have 39-degree weather.
Yeah, it's a heat wave.
Dallas is hot. Yeah, my friends live in Houston, and they said Houston in the summers is like Ottawa in the winter in January. It's so cold you don't want to go outside. In Houston and just areas of Texas, it's so hot you won't want to go outside.
100%, yes. Texas is very, very hot in summer, but it's beautiful in winter.
Oh, I was there in November. It was beautiful.
Yeah. November, December, January, February, those 4 months are really, really good in Austin or Texas in general. Hey, Diane. Happy Sunday. Good to have you.
My weirdest experience was stopping at a Buc-ee's gas station. That's just like gas is kind of the other thing they do, but it's just like the wildest place. I've never seen anything like it. It's just, you normally go to a gas station, you get gas, you might get a coffee or something like that. That place, it's like
it's big, yeah.
Smoked meats and fudge and jerkies and the cleanest bathroom. It's crazy, huge place.
100%.
Just not. Never seen anything like it.
Okay, awesome. I think we can get started. Let me start the recording, kick it off, and hand it over to you. Okay. So happy Sunday, everybody. Glad to be with you today. As usual, our Sunday 11 a.m. This is Future Career Community, there where we help people land jobs, we support them, we unblock their journey. We have a great speaker today, Nisha Rogers, who's a coach and a mentor and a communication specialist, media producer, and the founder of Talk Better Academy. Today, Nisha is going to speak about a very, very important topic that everybody is speaking about almost, which is AI, and mastering the skills AI can't replace. Nisha, we're very, very excited to have you today and blessed. So the floor is yours. Kick it off, please.
Yes, Ahmed, thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to connect and share some of my expertise and passions with your community. I consider it a pleasure and an honor to just even be in your sphere of influence because you're amazing and what you're doing is incredible. So happy to be a part of that. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we can get this thing kicked off. Let's see, is it letting me? People. Okay, hold on. Let me come out of the full screen and see if that helps.
Yeah. Dawood, are you still facing
There we go.
Issues?
Okay. Present. All right. Can you guys see that in full screen yet? Good. Okay, awesome. All right. So yes, I'm excited to talk to you guys today as a communication coach. Really kind of what Ahmed said is that we already know the big phrase that everybody's saying is that AI is no longer coming. It's here. So today we're going to talk about what AI cannot do, right? Because it's such a force to be reckoned with. How do we still find relevance in today's society, right? With the intrusion of AI and the implementation of AI and how it's taken over. Before we do that, I want to just kind of introduce myself a little bit. I'm Nisha Rogers, communication coach, conversationalist. I have just always loved talking. From the day that I can remember beginning to talk, I have just always been the person in the family that's asking a million questions, wanting to have the deep conversations, all of the things. So I ended up getting my degree in just that, communications, mass communications, and I've been doing communications and storytelling through media and broadcasting now for over 10 years. And I have just always been fascinated with mass communication and information and how it can be spread to large groups of people at once. And it became such a passion to me over the years that I actually created a company called Talk Better Academy, which is where I help and teach professionals how to become more effective communicators. And that has led me to receive different awards, speak with different high-profile people, from politicians to mayors to congresswomen to celebrities, Grammy-winning artists, all of the above. And so I have just had a joy doing that. So I would love to stay connected with you all afterwards to learn a little bit more about you and a little bit more about me as well. So let's get started, right? So in terms of communication, what is communication? Communication is actually a meta skill, right? Well, what do we think of when we hear the word meta skill? Basically, it's a high order skill that is a skill that can be transferable to a variety of different facets. It's not a micro skill. It's a meta skill that can be used on a lot of different variables and a lot of different mediums. So it's something that you're actually going to want to be strong at in terms of your skill set and techniques to become a person who is able to scale in business and essentially in life. The ways that I like to kind of look at what is communication is that it's a transfer of information, ideas, or feelings, right? And even visions. In order for you to be able to effectively communicate to people, you have to be able to be clear at transferring information, right? The other thing is that it's not just words. You don't just think of communication as talking. It's being able to be skilled at listening. Another way that I like to say it is that having a conversation is actually a listening exchange. So it's about how do you react to someone? What is your body tone? What are your emotions? And the different things that you're trying to convey. Uh-oh. Did it stop sharing? It stopped sharing on my end.
Yeah, it stopped sharing. Yeah.
Okay, let me try to pull it back up.
Yeah.
Okay, can y'all see it now?
Yeah, now we can see it, yeah.
Okay, I don't know what happened. But anyways, and then communication, essentially, when you want to niche down and try to really refine and understand it, it's going to really come down to connection, which is going to be kind of the cornerstone or the crux of what we're going to be talking about today, is how do we actually connect with each other as human beings. So there's obviously a couple of type of communications. Peter Drucker says the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. And once you get really, really good at communication, you start to learn how to interpret information at a high level and use that information in order to allow it to be a catalyst for deeper and stronger connections with the people that you're actually speaking with. So we've got nonverbal, verbal, written, and listening are the main forms of communication. Why is it important, right? When we're in terms of the context of what we're talking about here today with the future career community, you're professionals, right? You want to be able to grow, you want to be able to land jobs and get the role of your dream. So you want to become a better communicator. One, because it connects you to all other skills. Like I said before, it's a meta skill. And so I know there's a lot of people in your community that are tech driven. And so it's important to know that no matter how strong you are in those expertise, if you cannot clearly explain your ideas and be able to collaborate with other team members and influence people, it's going to be limited, right? So no matter how good your idea is or the technical expertise that you have, if you can't explain them well, it's only going to take you so far. The other thing is that it's going to unlock career mobility, right? So the stronger communicators are going to be more likely to be promoted. They're going to have a lot more visibility in their roles, and they're going to be trusted among leadership with the information, the narrative of the company, and the overall messaging. And then, of course, it just creates human connection, which is the thing that we need to continue to be persistent, that stays at the forefront of all of our interactions, is that we remain having a human connection with one another so that we can build empathy and trust within those relationships. So I kind of want to talk about 4 things that you have as a human being that AI does not have and cannot replace, which are very, very important things, right? Empathy. When we think of empathy, a lot of people get this mixed up with sympathy sometimes. So really understanding empathy and what it means. Sympathy is being able to recognize pain that is in someone. Empathy is being able to recognize pain with someone. So putting yourself in their shoes and actually taking a deeper focus into their experience, to their perspective, into their ideas, into what they're feeling and their emotions. So being able to have that really emotional intelligence to be able to tap into empathy is going to be important, because as we know, AI, they have all the answers, but it's not able to actually sense if you're actually feeling frustrated, if you're actually feeling, ChatGPT can't necessarily have those actual skill sets. Emotion, of course, is where you get the driven aspects of you that are soul related, right? And so your emotional ties to things, your passion, your authenticity that actually inspires you into inspired action, right? When you feel a certain way about something, how it can actually drive you to make one decision or another. So your emotions are a human edge that you have that AI cannot replace. Memory with context, very important. I think this is cool because the first thing I think of when I think of memory with context is inside jokes, right? We all have our friends, our relationships, our work colleagues where we have a joke with them of a memory that we have, and only the two of us know why something is funny at a particular given situation, because it reminds us of a memory that we have with context. So being able to recall shared meanings of jokes, of ideas, of visions, and not just relying on strictly data is going to be important, an important skill for you to remember that you have in terms of having an edge on AI as a human. And also, last but not least, connection, right? Connection creates our belonging. It creates the loyalty and, of course, collaboration. Connection is kind of a buzzword right now, but it is for a reason. Because if you don't have connection, then essentially you don't really have what it takes to actually drive where you want to go and how you can experience close connection with people in your life. So that's going to be the key thing, is connection. How do you actually authentically connect with people in terms of communication? This is just a quick little glance at, how communication can help you in your career. Obviously, 85% of job success comes from people with communication skills and being able to be people affluent, right? Understanding people, being in the business of people. It helps with professional mobility as well. Studies say that people who are strong communicators are promoted 2 times as faster than people who are not. Of course, authentic transparency. AI can create efficiency, but only people create trust, right? So being able to actually show up authentically in ways that are undeniable. And then, of course, being real reaps real results. You have a human edge because your career is relied on your human capacities and what you can do as an actual human. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes. I came up with a framework that I like to use in terms of going into conversations. So anytime that you want to be effective in communication, you want to look at the conversation that you're having with this method that I call CARE, right? Because the thing about connections and the thing about caring is you can't pretend to care. You have to actually care about people in order for it to work, right? So it has to be genuine. It has to be true. You have to go beyond just the idea of exchanging information. You have to create genuine connection. So when we think about what does it mean to connect, right? That first meet and greet, that first acknowledgement, that first recognition of somebody's presence, you want to be able to greet the person. One thing that you can immediately do is just obviously get to know the person's name. There's studies that say that the most popular and favorite sound is the sound of someone hearing their own name said out loud. So when you connect with someone, you want to be able to get to know them in an in-depth way, obviously telling them a little bit about yourself and getting to know their name. Another cool question that I like to ask people in that initial connection, if I have time or if the atmosphere kind of allows for it, and I've heard a lot of amazing stories to it, is asking people if their name has a meaning or how did they get their name. There's almost always a guaranteed fascinating story behind why someone's name is their name. And so that's a kind of a good way to do that. And also the other good thing about that is it helps to create a psychological safety net to the people that you're connecting with, just to know that you're immediately setting the intention, hey, I actually want to connect with you. The second thing that you're going to want to make sure that you do is ask. So the reason why I like the word questions and have just been fascinated with asking questions is because if you look at that word and you break it down, the first part of that word is quest, right? To seek, to go on a journey, a quest to seek more information about people by asking questions. So the more curious that you are with people, the more further you'll go in deepening the relationship with people. So you can do something like a technique called conversational threading when you're talking to someone, which is basically picking out information that they're saying or things that they happen to mention that might seem like nuances or interesting details and expounding on them and threading them back into the conversation. So for an example of conversational threading could be if you're talking to somebody at work, maybe they just got back from leave or vacation and you're asking them about their trip. And they say, oh yeah, it was so fun. I got to see the Bermuda Triangle, and I ended up meeting a guy there who's actually from the same city as me, which was really awesome to be that far across the globe and to meet someone that lived 20 minutes up the street from me. And we had such a good time, and the weather was beautiful and the water was amazing. So the conversation goes on, right? Maybe 1 or 2 minutes further, and then you can bring in that conversational threading, and you can ask, oh, you said that there was a guy that you met that lived 20 minutes from you. What side of town are you on? And then that allows you to connect with them in that way. And they say, oh, well, I'll use an example here. I live in Atlanta because that's where I'm at. And they say, wow, okay, I'm only 30 minutes from Atlanta. We're not that far from each other. I would love to grab a drink or coffee with you sometime So you can connect the dots, right? So now they didn't just tell you a story about them being on vacation. You use them talking about being on vacation to deepen the actual connection that you had with them in that particular story. So you could always ask open-ended questions to further that communication with the person that you're trying to connect with, right? So we're going over our CARE acronym, which is to connect, ask, reflect, and empathize. So reflecting is important because what it does is it actually allows you to repeat the actual chunks of paragraphs that somebody might just have said to you back to them, which lets them know you are actually listening. So remember, like I said earlier, conversations are essentially listening exchanges. And so this will allow you to be able to turn that communication into collaboration by helping them to realize that you hear them. One of my philosophies with communication in general is that everybody wants to be seen, heard, and understood. And so in terms of you being able to access those three pillars, reflecting back on what someone says allows you to say, hey, I see where you're coming from, or I heard what you just said about that and how it makes you feel, and I understand why you might feel that way. So everybody wants to be seen, heard, and understood, right? And then lastly, like we talked about earlier, actually being able to empathize with other individuals, being able to validate them before actually moving on to what it is you're going to say, and making sure that you heard them correctly. So it's not just about you. Care conversations are very selfless, right? And that's how you're going to create genuine connections, is by continuing to be someone who is selfless, who has a selfless attitude, so to speak. Okay. I want to do an activity with the group who's on right now. We're going to fill in the blank reflection. So I want us to take a couple of minutes to look at this sentence that we have here, this prompt essentially. And I want you to think about a real situation where you could have been a better communicator, right? So it says, a time when I needed better communication was when blank. So when was there a time in your life where you needed, better communication? The challenge that you faced was blank. What was the actual challenge with the communication that you had? If I had used more, you can use one of the examples I have. If I have used more empathy, emotion, memory, or connection, or you could use the CARE acronym if you want, I could have what from this situation and what you learned. So we're going to take like 2 minutes. And you guys let me know if you guys can hear this little music. We're going to take like 2 minutes or so to do this, and then I will come back. Can you hear? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear the little music.
No, it's not. It's not on.
Oh, you can't hear that?
No, we cannot hear it. No, I think
okay.
You have to do something when you join. I don't think it will work now.
Oh, it's not working. Okay, I can hear it on my end. No worries.
Yeah, it's okay. I think folks can do the exercise without music.
Okay, cool. Does anybody think they can? I guess I'll go to you, Ahmed. If somebody.
Yeah, I'll let you know if someone provided in the chat.
Okay, provides it in the chat. Anybody have any examples? Want to come on and talk about filling in the blanks, giving a real life example?
Yeah, if someone wants to come off mute and maybe speak, go ahead.
Yes, we are communicating today. That is the name of the game, right?
Exactly.
Communication. So I would love for someone to come off mute, come on cam, and maybe let's walk through some of these blanks that we have that you could fill in, so we can reflect on what we could have changed or what outcome could have been different. Any volunteers?
Anyone wants to give it a shot?
No volunteers? Going once? Going twice?
Good morning, Misha.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I could think about something. So yeah, A time when I needed better communication was when I think wanted to join another team. The challenge I faced was the head count. There wasn't head count in my department, so I think if I used more, I'm not sure, like empathy, emotions, memory. It's maybe showing more passion, maybe, or showing demonstrated that I'll be an addition to the team. Maybe I could have had the role. Of course, there are a lot of politics behind the headcount. It's not only what you want to show, demonstrate, but then there's other factors. But I think maybe if I showed more passion, okay, from this I learned that it's all the points you mentioned, to be honest. It's the communication parts. It is showing connection. I think all of them are relevant. And then there comes other factors that you can't control. That would be something that out of control, but at least you know that you did your best.
That's very good. I don't see your, okay, is it Basma?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for having the courage to come on and speak and communicate, which I love. I appreciate that. That's interesting. I do have a couple follow-up questions. What was the window, I guess, of opportunity where you knew that you could possibly be in another team and to when that decision was made?
So actually, there wasn't a window. It's something I've been looking for a couple of years. And then I kind of like created the opportunity myself. Like I want to know more about this team. I want to join. So I did join. I did do a rotation in the team, but then I wanted to like permanently move, which it couldn't happen because of the headcount. So yeah, I'm not sure how. But you know what? Before that, I talked to a mentor, and they mentioned that you can create your own opportunity, which I tried to do, but it didn't work. So yeah, there wasn't a window per se.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so the other question too that I just want to ask, understand the story a little bit more. When you talked to the manager, what was your energy like? Did you approach them kind of with confidence in, seeking that opportunity?
To be honest, no, because I wasn't sure if it should work or not. So I know the energy wasn't. Yeah, I know that maybe lessons learned, energy should be more, and the passion should show. Like that's why I mentioned maybe if I was more like passionate about the role, more confident, maybe I don't know how it works, but I just give it a try, and yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And I think what you're talking about, that energy, that emotion, right, that you would have been able to tap into in that particular situation is evoking more emotion, more passion, more urgency for wanting that role. Will definitely pay off. And we can talk about that some more offline and connect in LinkedIn, so that hopefully you can land that opportunity the next time that it's in front of you. Learning how to really master your emotions and come with confidence in terms of how you speak and how you show up in the conversation. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll step in. So a time when I need better communication. So I find this happens to a lot of people. It's when they're doing performance reviews and one-on-ones with their management. In particular, I found at Microsoft was a real eye opener because they're extremely, adamant about how most places when you do a performance review, you walk in, you have a conversation with the boss, he kind of tell you you're doing a great job or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then you just sort of forget about it and go on from there. Microsoft is a place where you learn the hard way. They don't really explain it to you in the beginning, but they have a little bonus called a CBI bonus that is connected without having a ranking system. It's a ranking system. So they use that as a way to shape how much you're going to get a special bonus. And that is your entire career is tied up in that little bonus. It doesn't matter. And so that's all based on your connects, your one-on-ones and things like that. And so what I found was I had the old attitude for many years of working with other companies where I just walk in, it's a fun conversation. everything's going great. I deflect as much as I can away from myself, talk about other people, how great they are. And then when it came to getting some of these bonuses, sometimes I find I'm not getting quite as much as I thought, or my career's stalling and things like that. And what I realized was you can't go into any of these scenarios with any kind of be happy, everything's just great. You really got to, I learned that you have to look at all your performance reviews. You have to think about what's in the one-on-one, how you're performing, document everything succinctly as to what you're doing very well, map to all those things. And so that when you walk in and you're trying to communicate your boss, your value, you have that list prepared rather than trying to get it off the cuff, the top of your head. So, I mean, I'm pretty good with empathy and all that sort of stuff, but I found that when I was, the lady was talking about the other job, if you don't prep up these statements, you freeze. You'll freeze in these situations. If they ask you a question that kind of throws you off, that can ruin any of these kinds of conversations. So I find if you prep your communication ahead of time, which is positive, value, that kind of thing, it makes a huge difference. Nowadays, it seems to be so much more important in companies. Performance reviews and how you communicate in them is incredibly important now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you for that, Neil. I think that's important because a lot of people, they would get intimidated by having something like a hard copy of something in front of them, right? They think that looks less professional or has less of an element of readiness. But I think what you're talking about is like having my bullets, having my numbers, having my proof of what the ask is, I think is key. And just to rely on it. It doesn't have to be these big paragraph things, but as you refine them and hone them in on your downtime before that actual performance review comes in, they can become bullets that you can immediately be like, oh, I know this about myself. I know this about myself. And they can be exact facts that could also, can go back and be proven later. But I think that's important. And I don't want people, and I love that you're saying that because we talked about the types of communication at the beginning, and written was one of those types of communication. So having those written bullet points down and not just relying on it, because the situation in itself for most people who have blood running through their veins is nerve-wracking and can definitely intensify high stress levels. So being prepared with the information that you know about yourself, written and verbally, would definitely be an asset.
Yeah, one of the things, like Canadian culture, and I know there's a lot of cultures like this, we're not prone to brag about ourselves. Yet what's happening in the workplaces, in American workplaces, are more competitive. So that's kind of, you have to be able to state what you did, not what other people do and how you work with the team, blah, blah. They really want you. And so for a lot of cultures like Canadians, and I know a lot of other cultures as well, it's very difficult to do that, but you have to write that down. And it's not bragging. It's really just a factual way of stating your value to the organization so that they've got it in their heads. Otherwise, what I've noticed in big companies in particular, you can get pigeonholed really quickly by a couple of statements from some other people. People are so busy. They don't check things. They don't have empathy necessarily. And if you prepared your statements for all your reviews, you're talking about what you contributed, not whatever. It's super important. Some people call it spin doctoring or storytelling. It's not really, actually. It's super important.
Yep, it's very, very important. And I'm a Leo, so I don't have a problem.
Yeah, my daughter's the same.
Oh, yeah, I love talking about myself. So
happy birthday. Happy birthday. I think this is your month,
right?
Thank
you. Yeah, next week. Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited. Thank you. Thank y'all for sharing. So as we kind of look at what we discussed today, there's a couple of things, obviously, that I want to make sure core pillars for us to take away in terms of when we're thinking about scaling in our current levels of profession, or landing a job opportunity, or creating a genuine connection that will lead to employment, are three things, right? So you want to just make sure that you keep communication as the strong edge that you have in this day and age of AI and technical expertise, because it'll allow you to have lasting influence, lasting impressions on the people that you connect with, whether you're at a networking event or a conference or a summit or a Zoom like this, just being able to connect with people, to conversate with people is going to be important, because you can take the knowledge and the trust that you build and turn those ideas into actionable steps, right? And into opportunities, essentially. So, of course, the first pillar is the bread and butter, communication, right? It's the thing that powers every other skill. It's not just about who has the most data, who has the most information. It's about who can actually express that information with actual genuine meaning. So communication is definitely going to be that meta skill that you want to hone in on as you grow. Will Smith has a quote that I like, and he says, your skills will fail you, your talent will fail you if you're not skilled at it. So you may be talented in one area, but if you do not practice the skill of the actual talent you have, it can fail you. So you want to be somebody who continues to exercise that muscle of talking. And that can be anywhere that you decide to go in life. There's so many opportunities that we have to practice this muscle. It could be with somebody in line at the grocery store. It could be on the person that's next to you on the airplane, the person who happens to sit across from your table at a conference. There's so many opportunities that we have every single day to exercise this communication muscle, so that when you go into your professional spaces in the professional realm, it feels natural to you, right? It feels natural to you to have small talk, or to do the conversational threading that I mentioned, or to give or show empathy when you're in just a regular conversation, or even one that's in a professional setting, in meetings, to feel like you have the competency and the confidence in communicating to speak up and share your idea in a meeting more than you probably would have done in the past. So communication, the name of the game. And the best way to be good at communication is to have that genuine connection, right? We all know ChatGPT, all of the other platforms, AI has taken over. They have all the answers, right? That's what it seems. But only a human being can actually create trust and empathy and even storytelling through that genuine connection that you have with people across all mediums. So we want to make sure that we're remembering that as well. We can never be replaced with human connection, which is going to be extremely important. And then lastly is clarity. So the more clear that you get, the more crystallized your conversations get and what's happening with them in real time, the more emails, presentations, the faster that people are going to actually act on your ideas. So when you're in a moment, now that you understand the importance of care, like what we said earlier, to be able to connect, ask, reflect, and empathize, you're going to see in a moment's notice, okay, which one of these can I tap into? I might not be able to tap into every single one in every single scenario, but you know that you can tap into at least one of the four in every conversation that you have. And you'll start to see more clearly the power that you have in the conversation and how you can navigate them, right? By showing people that genuine connection that you want to have. And you can just be more clear and concise about how to make a conversation go in a direction based on using that framework of care. What else? Okay, just to kind of get an assessment also of who's in the room, I want to look at some of these questions to just see where we're at and get a temperature of where the communication levels are for the group. So let's look at number one. Which human skill do you think you rely on most at work? I want to see you guys put these answers in the chat. Ahmed, I'll just refer to you if somebody's punching anything in. Yeah. First, number 1A, empathy. This is a skill that you rely on most at work. B, storytelling. C, listening. D, emotional expression. I think a B is interesting. I think we all know somebody in our friend group or our family who just tells the best stories, right? Do you guys have those people in your family? It's just like every word they say, whether you're doing like a cookout or something, or it's like a work lunch or something, but this person is just has everybody hanging on the edge of their seat because they're such good storytellers. I love people like that. Is anybody putting anything in the chat, man?
Yeah. Neil mentioned A, Basma mentioned C, Lisa mentioned listening. Preach mentioned be.
Okay.
I personally find Neil is a great storyteller. We used to, sit together at work and hear his very nice stories and lots of, incidents or thing that he brings up from his previous, work or current customers or situations. He's an amazing storyteller. I think that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I always love a good storyteller as like one of my closest friends because they just make life more interesting.
Yes.
My brother's a good storyteller. Everything is dramatic. Everything is like a Tom Cruise movie with him. Everything that happens. So he's always like going over, above and beyond with what happened. It can be like the most smallest, minute thing, but my brother just makes it seem like it's like an action movie. Okay. Number 2, where do you need the most growth? Is it A, listening with empathy? B, expressing myself clearly? C, building rapport and connection? Or D, following up and being able to remember context of certain conversations? What are we saying? What are we feeling? I'll say for me, I think, which one would I say if I had to say for myself? Because this is an evergreen meta skill, right? You never actually really fully master it because you can continue to evolve and learn and grow from so many different experiences. So it's kind of an ongoing skill set that you just continue to refine.
Yeah, we have folks who shared, D,
D,
and then B and D, Ash, and then Basma
okay.
C, and then Neil B. I personally chose C.
Mm-hmm. C. Who did you say said D?
Ash, I mentioned B and D.
Ash, do you want to come on and talk for just a quick second on what you mean by D? Like, what's the biggest area of improvement in terms of what's difficult? Why is it difficult for you in terms of following up and remembering context?
Come to think of it, I would say B is more of my. I feel like I need the most growth in it because right now I'm in the process of really actively interviewing, and I feel like even I had an interview on Friday with the director, basically the hiring manager's boss, and I just felt like I could have expressed more, even though I had a very good connection with the hiring manager, and felt like I could be more confident in my answers from that aspect. So that's something that I feel I feel like I struggle with, just depending on how the conversation goes. Like if I feel like when I have somebody that's easygoing and all that, those I grow more in confidence. But then when there are people that are more like Q&A type, this doesn't give out that friendly vibe or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I feel like I lack confidence or feel a bit nervous essentially when interviewing with those folks. So that's usually like, how do I get to a point where regardless of who I'm talking to, I express myself clearly and my experience and all that in a confident manner. And then following up and remembering context. To be honest, come to think of it, I don't think that's that big of. I might have read wrong when I actually said BND. That's not. No, I wouldn't say that I'm actually. Come to think of it, I don't think I'm. I would say I need a lot of growth in it, but definitely be for sure.
Yeah, I think that's important. There's a lot of studies that show too, because like I said earlier, just that interviewing, performance reviews, anytime that you're in front of or across from leadership or somebody who has the capacity to determine your future success in terms of your role and your position, it's very nerve-wracking and it's very stress-induced and very inflammatory. So I think an easy thing to do when you get on the beginning of those things is find out if that person has a sense of humor. there's a lot of studies that show ways that you can find out early on if somebody has a sense of humor, and that will help you be able to navigate the energy and the type of confidence that you need as you go into that conversation. Because when you learn that somebody has the ability to kind of have a light-hearted quality about them or find something funny, I think it's easier to have that open window to connect with them deeper. So doing like a subtle or small quirk or something quirky at the beginning of that conversation and finding out if that person laughs at it or not. And you can do this like the same thing every single time. So for example, it could be, I don't know, like let's say I'm drinking this water right now or getting on and putting it down, and then I have like a little piece of water or something on my mouth, like kind of laughing or making a joke about that really quick and seeing like how they react to it will let you know, like, okay, what kind of person is this? Somebody who's just really like assertive, straight to the point, or are they somebody who I can be a little bit more heart-lighted with and then have that opening for connection and not feel like I can be so stressed out about it? I can lean into that connection that could be possibly there, and not becoming overwhelmed with just the actual practicality of what's happening, right? The tactics of the asking the questions, the finding out whether or not you're qualified. And just going into it with that, confidence with your communication and being able to effectively speak, kind of like Neil said about what you do and what you offer. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate you coming on.
Just wanted to follow up with that. I think I can tell just from like you mentioned, even though I don't my intention is not always to find the sense of humor aspect of it, but more or less, I can tell if the person is easygoing or not quite early in the interview. It's like, what if I realize that the person is not easygoing or doesn't quote unquote have that sense of humor, or just don't want to engage in any sort of small talk, and it's very like tactical, straight to the point. Hey, you've mentioned A, B, and C in your resume. Can you speak to that? Blah blah blah. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Is like, how do I approach that with confidence? Is what I've realized that's something that it's like a hit or miss, just depending on that. I just feel like I'm a little bit more nervous when the person that I'm interviewing with doesn't really give that friendly vibe. So
I like that. Neil, you got your hand up. You want to respond to that?
Yeah. So one of the things you might want to consider when you're dealing with someone like that is if they're the hiring manager or the manager above, and you're going to have to deal with them, you need to also think about the fact, is this the type of person you even want to work with? So one of the ways to bring your confidence back is to go, look, I'm a certain kind of, like, I'm a pretty easygoing, happy guy most of the time. I like people who interact. I can handle serious people, no problem. But after a while, I find these people that are just so serious about everything in life just put a damper on the team. And I'm not, and a lot of times you don't need really deal with them that often, so it's not a big deal. But you can start asking like questions with this person. How much are you engaged with the team itself? And start giving an indication, carefully give an indication that you're interviewing them as well as to whether or not you're going to fit with him. Because honestly, if you shouldn't have to change your entire personality to work there. Like I know the authentic self, they talk about that. And companies have a very serious way they want you to behave at work, but they don't want you to behave just like your director all the time or something like that. So you're bringing a great skill to the office. If you're an easy person to be with and then you make people comfortable, that's a huge team thing. So you need to decide, just work with them a bit, sort of start just a little bit of interviewing with them a little bit to just kind of, it's not you're throwing them off, but you're making it so that they're going, oh, wait a minute here.
Yeah.
I know they get a bit on the back foot and they start going, oh, I might be coming across badly if you're starting to question their behavior. So
yeah, I want to piggyback off of
that. By the way, that may not be their natural personality. Sorry, go ahead, Nisha.
No, yeah, I would just want to kind of piggyback off of that a little bit and just give anybody listening to this little tidbit of advice. That's something that I do, kind of like what you're talking about, Neil. Especially if I'm in an interview setting, at the end, they usually open it, up to, do you have any questions for us? One question I always ask that surprisingly shocks people is, what do you enjoy most about working here? And then they say that, and then I say, where in the company do you think there's room for improvement? Because then it makes them talk about, obviously, what they like, which they're not asked that very often. Like, why do you like working here? They're not used to asking that back to them as the interviewer. And so it's kind of a curveball that I like to throw people, because it allows me to see, okay, wait, what am I actually getting into? Especially by asking that questions, because it's easy to give an answer that like, oh, this place is amazing because ... But then when I ask, okay, well, that's incredible. So what areas do you think there are room for improvement at the company right now? That also allows me to see, okay, where are the cracks? What is their response going to be? Is this a place that I want to be at long term? And so, yeah, that's, and it gives you this it kind of gives you the ball, so to speak, because now it's not so much like you're like, oh yes, I need to be here. You're actually kind of flipping the script on them a little bit, because now you're looking at hiring them, right? Like, do I want to be a part? How do I want you all in this corporation, this company, to be a part of my life? Like, do I want to infuse the two? And so that kind of gives you that confidence back in the conversation by being able to ask those questions within an interview capacity. Those two questions, what do you enjoy most, or what do you like most about being here? And then where do you see room for improvement for the company? And you'll be surprised how people kind of fluster over that second question, because they're trying to really figure out and navigate how to tactfully answer that. But it'll give you a lot of insight into where you want to go. So, yeah.
I love it. This is amazing. Very good question, Nisha. I like, this kind of question. I think everybody in the chat is also saying the same. And this is a very good takeaway. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Thanks, Ash, for coming on. See if it'll let me.
You're welcome. Yeah, and thanks. It was good conversation, good advice.
Thank you.
And also regarding the jokes, I always remember that movie from Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness, when he was in the interview and, he asked him about if I hired someone dressed like you, what would I say to colleagues? And he said he must have a nice shirt. I always remember that joke and how it was really clever to say in a tough interview and with executives, and he's dressed like that,
It was great in that movie.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Go ahead.
I read the book. It's based on a book, too.
What did you say, Neil?
It's based on the book. That's a real life guy who basically went from nothing as a single parent to becoming a top trader, stock trader.
Yeah. It's a great movie. I'm like kind of shocked that that's not the one that he got the Oscar for. It's a great performance.
I agree.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you guys again for I know our time is running short. I'm definitely open to some Q&A, just to remind you guys that, AI has taken over to some degree, but not all the way. We're still able to have meaningful connections as humans. So make sure that you guys keep that at the forefront of all of your interactions, and that your breakthrough is essentially one thought away. That's my motto, is that life's breakthroughs are one thought away. Your ability to be able to think differently about your circumstance, about your predicament, about your values, about your worth, can literally be the catalyst to you experiencing abundance and exponential growth in your life. And so, like I said at the beginning, I'm a communication coach. I would love to stay connected with you all. I know Ahmed gave me the margin today to talk to you guys for an hour, but I am giving a special on some of my 90-minute communication coaching for the future career people who are on today. Only today, for the next 2 days, I think you have the ability to schedule that call with me at 25% off. So I would love to further the conversation with anybody who's interested in that, to help with some of these tactics that we kind of discussed today, and how you can become better professionals in terms of how you communicate. So feel free to reach out to me and ask any questions that you may have of me. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can talk more about how to further your communication skills. So, Ahmed, thank you again.
No, you're welcome.
For having me.
Lots of great wisdom, and again, we're very, very excited to have you today, and those two questions at the end also were very spot on, as they say, and tons of wisdom you shared today. We'll open up for Q&A. If anyone wants to come off mute, ask questions, this is your time.
Yes.
We'll take the group selfie at the top of the hour, so be ready for camera if you want to be a celebrity for this call. And let's see, if there is no questions, I can ask if you want. For you, Nisha, again, I think there is no question so far, so I'll ask you, about interviewing, and most people here could be having some hard time in interviewing. What do you think the best way to prepare for an interview from a communication perspective? Again, some folks, they focus mostly on the technical skill. They focus mostly on, what they have done in their career, but they don't really, spend the time on the way of communicating what they are sharing. So what's your wisdom here?
Yeah, I think I would heavily rely on the communication skill of storytelling, right? Getting really familiar with the things that you have gone through, really looking back at your experiences that you've had in your personal life and past career experiences, and like really learning how to tell those stories and weeding them in throughout the interview so that you can continue to allow the natural stories that because you experience them about yourself as value adds for the actual interview. So really being able to put yourself in a position to where you're clear, one, because you're talking about something that you've been through. You're confident because you're like, oh yeah, this is my story. I know that this happened to me. But I would say really sitting down, taking the time to really think about the things that you've gone through that are also kind of in relation to the position that you're applying for, right? So think of some of those transferable skills that they're asking for, or just the actual responsibilities and tasks that you'll have, and think of, okay, if I were to take this particular thing that they're asking for, this skill set, what is the human side to this skill set? What is something that I went through as a person that I can speak to and use storytelling and weed storytelling, the skill of it, throughout the actual interview itself. I think when you just get better at storytelling, it just converts over into so many different areas.
I love it. Thank you so much.
We have another question.
Yeah, Diane, go ahead.
Hi, Diane.
And if you're speaking, you're mute, Diane.
Oh, okay. Hi, Nisha. Thanks so much for all the wisdom that you're dropping today. Greatly appreciate it. So my question is, and this is something that I used to be a hiring manager and also had the opportunity to see it on both sides. One of the challenges that a lot of people face is the ability to translate technical conversations or technical discussions, or to communicate that to upper level management. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give on how to become a lot more concise, clear? And I found the hardest part is to use storytelling for that, because sometimes your audience want to come across as proficient in delivering the technical capabilities. How do you what type of advice would you give folks on how to present technical information that's not too dry, not too complicated, mm-hmm. to an audience that needs to understand the why?
Yeah, this is a technique sometimes. That's a great question, Diane. Thank you for that. A technique that I use a lot of times when I get hired to speak or do a conference or something. And one of the things that I do, if I use a vocabulary or a term that is essentially complicated or complex, I'll say the term, right, just to also show that I know the term. But then immediately after I say the term or the word, I give basically a fifth grade version of what that means as a definition, like right behind it. So you can say the term or the phrases that are technical, but immediately follow them up with saying what it means in a fifth grade level, essentially. That is simplified and easy for people to understand, because it allows them to be able to still be connected to you and be able to flow with ease with the information that you're giving out or the information that you're saying. Is to be able to find just friendly language that you would use just in everyday conversations without making them complex. So if you were to try to tell this situation or this term to like your mom or your little brother or something, how would you use that? You know, just using friendly language and saying the term, but giving a simplified definition of what you mean right behind the term. If that makes sense.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay, yes, that makes sense. I guess a follow-up to that would be when you know that the person, this could potentially happen in interviews, is probably testing you on your ability to, so they may also be, you know, or have had experience with that particular component or technical or that particular hardware or software or whatever it is, and they're testing your ability to present it as a 4 or 5 year old. So that's actually a good technique to one, show your fluency in that particular by showing it initially, and then to be able to that makes a lot of sense. I
think the term too, kind of describe what you're talking about, is your range. Like being able to really showcase your range in the topic matter will definitely be very efficient in terms of how that relates to the person hiring you, that you can kind of fluctuate in between knowing it at an expert level, but bringing it down so that it's easy to understand for somebody who may be novice in the industry or in that space.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. So I think we're on time for the selfie. So if you want to stop sharing your slide, Anisha, we'll invite everybody to come on camera to join this as a celebrity. Until everybody joins, I'll just want to share, the feel no do, which I normally use to prepare for any slide deck. What I want people to feel, what I want them to know, what I want them to do. This could be a good, way for you to prepare for any executive conversation or executive meeting that helped me through my career. So feel no do is very, easy acronym for someone to remember and prepare for interview. Anyone else want to join the selfie? I'll say 1, 2, 3 and smile, and then I'll take the selfie. So I'll give it again a few seconds. If anyone else want to come in camera and be part of this nice selfie. Okay, awesome. Some folks have more courage now. Anyone else want to join? Okay, so 1, 2, 3 and smile. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nisha. This was amazing. We really, learned a lot of wisdom. Your 2 questions also for the interview were amazing, spot on. Thank you so much for everybody who joined us today. We'll stay for a few more minutes. If anyone have questions, we can take those questions. Otherwise, we'll give everybody their Sunday back and enjoy the rest of the week. So just to let you know, next week we have another topic about military and people who are switching from military to tech. Jonathan will be leading this one with another colleague. And Thursday we have a speaker from Australia who is going to speak about thriving under pressure. So this is going to be a very nice session as well. So if you want to join those sessions, just go to Future Career page on LinkedIn, follow the events and register so that you can get the invites. Nisha, I want to thank you a lot and see if you have any final wisdom. Okay, I think Ash has a question. Go ahead, Ash, first.
Yeah, I was just thinking about something, and sorry, I joined a little late, but I wanted to. I was just curious about if you had any advice on how do you practice confidence for interviews.
You practice by faking it first. You practice by faking it. Really, me and my husband were talking about this concept 2 days ago of living a life that is like delusional. And using like delusion as a metric for happiness, essentially. And we were talking about the idea of pretending and when you just create in your mind your own realities, right, that are not tied to societal norms or what people would normally think or feel. So not to your reality, right? Detaching yourself from your reality and being delusional about things in a way that it can help you to have that, like what I'm talking about, the fake confidence. The way that you practice it is by pretending to have it constantly in different areas. And, it can come in different shapes, forms, or fashions. I think that is true. That's right, Diane. Fake it until you become it, or fake it till you make it is the word that I like to use. And I think once you start getting that, once you start building the muscle of like pretending to be confident, you actually start to turn into somebody who's confident because you have convinced yourself of it. And then you just become it, right? And I think it goes back to the be, do, have, right? You have to become somebody who believes a certain thing about themselves and do the things that that person would do, that you ideally see yourself becoming. Start doing the actual things that that person would do. How do they act? How do they walk? How do they talk? How do they move? How do they respond? And then essentially you will have the things that you want to have, right? So be, do, have, and it'll come. Fake it. Fake it is the best practice.
That's one other way to think about it. I think I've read about this big celebrities, big personalities. Kobe Bryant comes into mind. Rihanna, I think, also had some confidence issues. I've read about these things where they have like this alter ego or personality or something, and then they just try to imagine that that's the person they are, and then that helps. So that's something I've been recently thinking about too. So
yeah, just start approaching things with delusion, and then it'll like transfer into confidence over time.
That's brilliant. So what if you're looking at doing that in an interview though? And as someone who practices delusional confidence a lot, there's things like you walk with your head up and your chest out and stuff like that is apparently helps make you feel better. There's all sorts of different techniques. In an interview, I'll go back again to the same thing. You've got to document your value statements and have your stuff prepared. Do the interview practice. Work with coaches like Ahmed and people like that, because the thing that's going to kill your confidence in a job interview is getting caught stumbling over something. And even though you know your stuff, and this is where the practicing the confidence, the delusional confidence, and how you say things in a certain way, like Nisha's talking about, that's a practice thing. You really got to practice it. And so you work with people that will help you do that. But being prepared for those interviews, trying to research the questions, all kinds of any kind of weird ways they might try to get you. And you're probably harder on yourself than anyone. Think about how you beat yourself up. And then go, okay, well, that's what I would say. Well, I'm going to write down this, and this is what I would respond to this way. And so you'll have the best answers practiced and that will give you the confidence. But that helps build that delusional confidence up like crazy. Because confidence has been proven to a large extent. People build it up over time through experiences, but a lot of people are born naturally confident people. You know those people. I have a daughter like that. Like, it's just, and I have a wife like that. It's like natural. It's a natural thing, a natural belief in themselves, and just,
Yeah. And then even to what Neil's saying too, I think another thing that if you want to go back into the communication aspect of confidence during interviewing is when they're asking you these questions, not being afraid of them, but having a response that shows confidence of like, oh my God, I'm so glad you asked that question. Because it shows I'm not afraid of this question. That doesn't intimidate me that you just said that. So saying verbiage like that helps you build that confidence of like, I can take this situation head on, or saying stuff like, wow, that's such a great question. You're really good at asking questions. That's such a great question. Let me think about that for a second. And then kind of taking that time, taking a beat to actually do that, but not being afraid of what the question is, but allowing your confidence to be, implement or exuded rather in that particular setting by showing that you're not afraid of the question. And you can do that by verbally responding in a confident way, by saying certain phrases that showcases I'm not afraid. I'm not intimidated by this situation.
Amazing. Amazing. Any follow-ups, Ash? All good? Okay. Nisha.
No, yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Nisha, thank you so much. This was amazing. Again, any final thoughts, any final words to the community before we end up here?
Yeah, no, just thank you again for having me. Such an incredible group. I'm glad for the knowledge and the advice and the tips. Hopefully you guys got something out of today, and I appreciate the people who hopped on and spoke and communicated in today's session. And I just love what you're doing, Ahmed. This community is amazing. Your company is amazing. And likewise. I just, pray for continued success in all that you do.
Thank you so much, Nisha. And looking forward to having you on the job fair after 2 weeks, with all the other folks. So stay tuned, guys. We have a job fair packed with so many good leaders and lots of recruiters as well. Thank you so much,
are you going to be ready for the influx this time?
Yeah.
The floodgates are going to come opening again. Are you going to be ready for it?
Yes, for sure. I learned the lessons.
That's such a good problem to have.
Yes, exactly. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Nisha. This was an amazing Sunday. Stay blessed, stay positive, stay proud. We loved what you shared with us today, and definitely need to start doing actions and implementing your wisdom today. Thank you so much, and looking forward to having you. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
Yes,
thanks. Session.
Bye.
Well done.
Bye.
Well done. Bye.
Bye.